Hi everyone, welcome to The Grind. We're going to be talking about romance today.
Nice.
Because that's the topic of the message that we heard over the weekend. We're looking at the bromance between Jonathan and David.
Yeah.
So basically we're going to be talking about friendship. And we heard how true friendship is built on mutual faith, it doesn't get jealous, and it's loyal.
Yeah.
So to begin with, are there any friendships or bromances that inspires you?
Ooh, good
It could
question.
be friendships that you see in a distance, or stuff that you see on screens or whatever it is.
Hey.
Hey.
No, I'm kidding.
Wow, thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
it's
that.
so inspiring for me. And never
You
been-
know my bromance? It's not with you. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, okay.
I feel mine are actually fictional.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think one that I really like is Jim and Dwight from The Office.
Oh yeah.
Mainly because I like The Office, but like it's fun to see at the very beginning of the series they're like enemies, right? But at the very end they're like basically covering for each other, which was really wholesome. Another one I'd say is Chandler and Joey. I think one of the
mine.
OGs. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's
But yeah.
good. It's a good one.
No, you continue. Chandler and Joey. Why?
Yeah, for me, definitely Chandler and Joey, just because one of the things that I appreciate the most is when they were living together, and then the fact that Joey's like a struggling actor, and Chandler sort of helped Joey throughout that journey as well, and just really supported, backed him up. That one for me is the fictitious. Is that a word?
Fictional.
Yes.
Fictional. Yeah, thank you.
Fictitious. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, the character. But the real ones, I would say Jason Bateman and Will Arnett, just their banters.
Oh yeah.
And they're really, really close. So I like them both as well. So yeah.
Yeah. I would say, well, one of the friendships that romances that come to mind would be Ryan Reynolds and
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. I think the way they banter, they seem as though they're mortal enemies, but really they're actually like good
Really
friends
close,
or something.
Like the ugly sweater. I think that was
Yeah.
so funny. And then they used it in a movie, even more funny.
Which movie?
The sequel to the Hitman's Bodyguard.
Oh.
Bodyguard's Hitman.
What is that?
Interpol has issued red notices for the hitman, a con woman.
Where did they get that picture? That's terrible.
Yeah.
I actually didn't brush it apart. Or don't remember. Then the other, because I was reading about this recently, the friendship between Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, just because they knew each other when they were 10 and 8.
Yeah.
And then the way they grew up together, they both loved acting, and in a way, like, I don't know, they just support each other in their own individual endeavors.
Yeah.
And they both definitely took very different routes in acting, but they're still very close.
Yeah.
And then I think in some of the videos, like Matt Damon will always like have a shout out to Ben.
Yeah.
And so I think even till this day they're like super tight.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think they also worked very closely together in
Yes.
Good Will Hunting, and I think
And they got really close also with the Michael Jordan
Air.
story as well.
Yeah. So like in Good Will Hunting, like Ben Affleck is, I think till this day, still the youngest writer that won an Oscar for best screenplay, adapted screenplay, or something like that. But anyways.
Actually, the cool trivia about that is because they couldn't get movies for them. Like most of the auditions, they failed. They couldn't get the role, so they decided to create their own
Oh, wow.
story,
Yeah.
like their own screenwriting. So that's pretty cool. So
Yeah, that's crazy. That's definitely a friendship that's lasting ages. But for you guys, do you guys have friends that has started like from a very young age and you're still friends with them to this very day? Besides your siblings?
I was gonna say my siblings, but yeah.
I'll say. Are my siblings my friends? No, I'm kidding.
I think for me it was not necessarily easy to get like long-term friends. I mean, like they're still really close friend of mine, but not to that extent because I've been moving in different schools, moving every like I keep coming back and forth, Hong Kong and Philippines. But over the course of time, I still get to communicate with those people I was close to, like really close with, and I think I cherish those because you still get to see how they are, and you still get to sort of like communicate and see how they are doing. But recently as well, I have quite a group of friends. You guys know who you are. That I really,
3
yeah, that I really truly treasure. Apart from my brother, of course, but yeah. So these people are the people that I am accountable with and really Not only the fact that we are friends during the greatest moments in our lives, but also like the tough ones, and how do we encourage each other and like really pray for one another. So yeah.
I think I only have like 3 friends that I'm still in contact with since my high school days, and 2 of them are my classmates, and it's nice. It's like as quality time and it is one of my love languages. I feel like them constantly reaching out and pushing to beat up is still like very fun. Sorry, what was the question again? I was just so deep thought.
What were there friendships that you've like had, like friends that you had since like you were young and you're still friends with them till this very day?
Yeah, so I say those 3, and yeah, and then I think one of them we got to know each other really, really well, and to the point like we're, you know, like getting life advice from each other, kind of like calling each other out for our errors and flaws. And
Same. I do have well, Hong Kong being a transient country, a lot of people come and go. And so for me, I have like at least like 2 friends who I've known since we were super young, like single digit age, and we're friends till this day. So I think that's kind of cool. It's like family friends, and we've been through like different like experiences in life, went through different parts of the world, but to study, and I think we're all back in Hong Kong. And so I think it's really cool to, you know, have that friend that you've known since childhood and now. So yeah. And I don't know, like for you guys, but sometimes I find it like a little bit more difficult to make friends when you are older as an adult. Like as a kid, it's so much easier to make friends. Like, yeah, we'll be friends for life. And then the friends I've said that to, not really friends right now. So not that like anything bad happened. It's just
like lost the connection.
Yeah,
like,
lost
like,
connections.
Yeah.
And then
Communication, sorry.
And like I said, like Hong Kong being like transient, right? Especially like when I moved back to Hong Kong, and then when I was joining young adults, a lot of the young adults were from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And no joke, every summer it felt like I was saying bye to someone. It's like, yeah, we become fast friends for a year. It's like, oh, we're going back to our country. Okay, all right, cool, new friend. And then it's like, so tiring to make friends now. It's
Yeah,
like,
it is.
How long do I have to stay? And then it's like, bye, right?
I think now we are in a season where whoever our friends are pretty much the friends that we'll be with for the rest of our life. You can imagine yourself like sitting in a rocking chair. Oh my god. Looking at the days back. Remember that time? Oh, you're right. Yeah. Something like that. Either you're just gonna like prefer being alone or have that same friends. Like you won't get connected that much anymore once you get that age.
Yeah. So I think it's like as you get older, it's just that's the reality. It's just harder to make friends. You're just stuck in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I think that just brings us to the topic of like, you know, what's the difference between covenantal friendship and regular friendships? I mean, yeah. Like, so what are your thoughts on that?
I think one of the things for me is that mutual commitment that you guys have. The commitment being under God's like guidance, like that mutual relationship that you guys have. I mean, like you always have these really good friends where like during the fun times and even during the tough times as well, but sometimes you really need these sort of like guidance coming from people who are not more godly, but people who are in the same journey as you and you are as a Christian. And I think that one is really important in the fact that they have your back, whatever the situation is, and they really support you and you support them as well, especially in their walking journey, because that particular friendship is a very I would say it's quite rare to have that kind of friendship, having that relationship, that bonding under God, and just really like praying for one another, encouraging one another. So yeah, I think that mutual commitment and that sort of like that binding relationship under God, that's the difference.
I won't really use covenant, but I guess like really intimate, like that one that's built on that also has faith built intertwined with it. I think
that's good.
I think what really differentiates is I think it's what we've said during the sermon about servanthood, that you're ready, that you are gonna put someone else's like interests and goals before yours.
Yeah,
I think. And I think most importantly, it's mutual, right? It's not just one way.
Yeah.
And you're both trying to see the other succeed. Like, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, covenantal friendships is also like what you mentioned. It is based on God. Like God is in a way involved in the picture.
Yes.
It's not. I think so. That's what sets it apart from other friendships. Other friendships, like coming together, over food, interest, or whatever. But I think a common relationship, like you mentioned, accountability and then also like faith in God as well. And I think if you were to look at David and Jonathan, yes, they had the bond to each other, but first and foremost, they had that bond with God as well. So, I think covenantal friendship is one of those things where I suppose, it could last for life. But then also there's also the thing called friends for a season. Like I don't know if that's anything that's something that you've heard before.
Yeah.
Friends for a season. I think that's something that really stood out to me because friends for a season because again when I was in YWAM and one of the weeks after missions we came back and the week was re-entry and basically how do we come back after being on missions for like over 3 months over 6 weeks for us and then it's like how do we transition back to normal life and so they're basically talking about all these things right because habits wise life is in a way you're internally different after living like that and one of the things that the teacher was saying was you got to realize that some of your friends will only be friends for a season. Like this friends that you have in YWAM could potentially just be for a season. Yeah. And that was the first time I was like, I'm not going to be friends for life with some of the people. Like we went through thick and thin. And
realization hit.
It's like, it's true. Actually, there are people who are technically friends for a season and it's okay.
But I think, I mean, it's okay. And definitely, I think you for these particular group of people, like these friends that you have, they may be like a friend for a season. Maybe that season meant like how often do you guys meet? How often do you guys hang around? But you will still have these group of friends where despite the fact that you guys are already not meeting as much, you're not committing as much, but you still have that sort of connection once you guys have that conversation after like 2-3 years and you guys just go back and say like, oh, remember this time and how are you doing and stuff like that. So I think like what you said, friends for a season is not necessarily bad. It's just like everybody has their own walk in life, so it's different.
And like going back to friends for like talking about friends for a season. So I think there are probably some like relationships that we have that we were tested in, and maybe that's why we were friends for a season because something happened.
Oh, okay.
Right. Or maybe we're still friends, depending on how it was resolved. Okay. So maybe talk about a time that a relationship you are in was tested and how you resolved the test, and I guess any differences that you saw after that time, whether it be like continued friendship, broken friendship, I don't know.
I'd like to say that, like, to comment on the, what's it? Friendship for the season? Friends for the season. I feel it's also, that's kind of the way it is because that's also a way for us to build character, I think. Kind of like, you mix yourself, the saying, like, you are who you hang out with. Yeah. So I feel like with different people, you're kind of you're this hybrid of just kind of like getting the best of each friend and like how it lets you grow. And so I think the kind of friendships that, especially when it goes through hardship, that I feel if you can emerge after it, that there is a more distinct understanding on each other's character and most of all values, I feel. It shows how much you value the friendship, especially the ones that you work through the hardship and still remain friends. Yeah. I feel it's a callback to what we said in I think it was your sermon. What hasn't been tested cannot be trusted. Yeah. I feel in the same way is like what hasn't been tested, you don't know the true value of it.
That's very true.
And so, yeah.
I mean, like I agree with what you said. I mean, like for me personally, I've had experiences before as well where I had I have a really close friend where, I mean, like in terms of our character, our personality is just really opposed to each other. And I think in some ways, I'm just thankful for that friendship as well because it also molded me to not be as judgmental as I was before. Like, like when you have this sort of bond, if you're not careful, you usually have this mindset of like, oh, the reason why this friendship has been ruined is because you're being too selfish or you're being... But there comes to a point when you realize, you know what, wait a second. I think after that loss of that communication for a while, you start to realize that this particular friendship relationship is a two-way thing. So if there was something wrong with that relationship, you're part of it as well. So I think that's one thing that I've learned throughout the years, and I really treasure those moments because, like you said, you have friends for a season, and then these new friends will experience the new you.
Yeah.
And you start to understand also that you begin to appreciate more of the friendship that you currently have because there's a change in your life, and second of all, you start to understand more about them even more. And like you said, something that has not been tested cannot be trusted. Now that you've already experienced these tests of like building relationships, building these friendship, now the bond becomes stronger with these group of friends that you are with. So
Yeah, that's true. Like, I think some of my closest friends I've had, well, confrontations, chats,
yes,
that I didn't want to have. But because we were able to work through them
Yeah.
and resolve stuff, then we are like good and friends till this day. And then sometimes I can't help but think like, oh, if with the current friends I'm friends right now, if I don't have that problem with them, that means we're not good enough of a friend. You know, I mean, that's that thought, right?
Yeah.
That what is our our moment that cements the friendship. I mean, obviously I can't have that all the time because I mean maybe there's some friends we'll never have that, and that's fine. And we're still friends.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's just in the friendships that matter. If there is that moment, how do we overcome that obstacle?
Amen. That's
and
true.
if you overcome it well, then and we're able to resolve and like forgive and move on, then I think it actually cements the friendship. But if that is actually something that gets in the way and kind of like breaks you apart, and in a way, it's really hard to kind of get back up. And,
Yes.
Continue.
I feel like that's like the same that applies for like marriage, like dating and
yeah.
marriage,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That like I don't remember where I heard this from, but someone said like it's good if there's arguments, and it's kind of a red flag if there's no arguments.
Oh.
That you need to like go through hardship to test the relationship. Yeah, so I feel it's the same thing. Like how they kind of like it's a series of successful recovery from conflicts that strengthens the relationship.
Yeah, and I think one of the great things about like when we were talking about the covenantal covenantal friendship, is one of the toughest part about friendship as well is when you are trying to be corrected. Like when someone corrects you, and the one who corrects you are the people who actually knows you a lot.
Yeah.
And when they say these sort of things, it's sort of like, oh, coming from you, like, and
Why you gotta say it?
why I gotta say it, like. But then this is one great thing about having friends that have that accountability with you, because they won't just hide the things that that will not be healthy for you, that will not be good for you, and will bring you to danger or something that will not be good for you. But they are accountable and reminding you that, hey bro, something you need to work on, bro. And you really appreciate those facts, those times, because everything that comes out of them, you will always try to put it in the essence life. They're saying these out of love, like so
Okay, so going back to Jonathan and David, so we see that Jonathan, he was willing to put David's interest ahead of his own, and also even if it meant jeopardizing his own position. I mean, basically it was like what his dad wanted, to kill David versus protecting his friend, and at the end of the day he chose to preserve his friend's life because that was like the covenantal friendship that they had. So my question would be, what does this teach us about the importance of putting others first in our relationships? And then, because the reason why I ask this is because there is a balance between laying your life down for your friend, which is what Jonathan did, versus being a pushover. Because one might say like, was Jonathan a pushover because he basically let David walk over him and just get his way. It's like, oh yeah, and then in the end, like maybe it's like, yeah, your dad is King Saul, like, and you basically let this David usurp the throne. So was he being a pushover? Like some might argue that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is definitely, what does it look like to lay your life down for a friend? But then what is the balance of actually being like, putting your friends first versus being a pushover? Because there are people who see like that's one and the same.
Yeah, I think there has to be this kind of like mutual love for one another, and like I feel that is just the foundation of it, and then from there produces fruits such as having the urge to push them to help them succeed or help them up whenever they fall. And I think what's really important is that there's no selfish benefit, like what is their true heart's intent, right? So like for Jonathan and David, right? Jonathan loved David to the point where he was willing to he wasn't laying his life down so that when David rises to the throne, he goes, hey David, remember this?
Remember me?
Yeah, exactly.
I helped set you up.
Yeah, exactly.
Helped.
Like Jonathan didn't do it so that he guarantees his safety, but he did it out of love, right? And like I remember I'm being recalled back to this when I was younger, that I was gaming a lot and I would have a lot of gamer friends and I always want to play and have fun with them. And I remember I had this argument with one of my parents where they were like, those are not your friends. And it only clicked for me one day when I realized I was only hanging out with them when it fit their convenience. Because the games we play, you cannot play with 4 people, you need to play with 5. So when they need that one,
when you said 4 and 5, I think I know which game is this already.
No.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, anyways.
Okay.
Right.
Anyway.
When they need one more person, that's actually when they invite me, not all the other times.
Oh.
So I was basically
The pity and
the substitute.
Yeah. And so I think
bench
that
warmer.
was when, because that was my parents' argument that they're not friends, even though video games this is friendless, so I call them friends. But then my parents made a strong statement, like those are not your friends. Yeah, like friends, like what they said was friends are the ones who will help you, like when you call out to them. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, for me, when I think about this, it's very tough actually to be honest, to really put these into perspective. For me, it's really like I said, relationship is a mutual thing, right? So I think the time comes when also it feels like you're being a pushover is when the other person treats you not the best way. Like if he acknowledges the fact that he respects and honors the reason why you made way is because you both understand, like for example for Jonathan and David, they understood because this is what God's calling for David, and for Jonathan making that way for David to get to that position, I think it also puts in the perspective of David acknowledging that there is a risk that Jonathan took for David to be there. And I think it's all about really honoring God and honoring that friendship that you guys have, and having that respect to be able to get to that position, and just so that we can, so as friends, you guys reach to the point where God wants you guys to be in. So yeah.
You actually remind me of this bit from a comedian, except he uses swear words, so I'm going to replace a swear word with another word, where he goes, when we become best friends, your issues become my issues.
Is this
and
Kevin
my
Hart?
Yes.
and my
And my issues become your issues. Like you start sharing it, I feel. Yeah.
I do what you like. I like what you mentioned is like a mutual respect, because if there is no mutual respect between the two friends, then there is going to be that pushover happening.
Yes.
Because they just see them as a means to an end.
Yes.
So I'm
Yeah.
thinking actually 13 going on 30.
I
where-
haven't watched that. That look.
So much hurt. Sorry.
Wow.
Is this the one with Matthew?
Don't worry. I didn't watch it either.
Perry?
Wow.
Is this the one?
No, it's with
Oh,
Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo.
oh.
We'll be right
I haven't
back.
watched this.
What kind of millennial are you? Sorry, I need to collect myself. Okay. So 13 going on 30, there is a group of girls who basically are the popular girls, and the main character basically wants to be part of that group, and she thinks that they're friends and
Okay.
everything, and basically she's a pushover because she's like, oh, there's no mutual respect, so she is like adores him and whatever, but they just see her again as a means to end, so basically using her to do the homework, so hence there is her being a pushover, being walked on over and everything treated like trash. So that's why I strongly agree with the whole mutual respect.
For some reason, I felt that that particular movie is Mean Girls. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, Mean Girls also similar
Yeah.
vibe as well.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think really laying your life down for friend mutual respect because you see them the way God sees them, which is why you would love them the way God would love them.
Amen.
And the whole, greatest commandment is like love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and then love your neighbor as yourself. And you're only able to love your neighbor as yourself when you actually have that relationship with God.
Amen.
So, yeah, I'll just talk a little bit about friendships then. So, David and Jonathan, we see they were really both quite vocal about the affection and love they have for each other. So, let me just quickly read from like 2 Samuel chapter 1, then verses 25 to 27. So really quickly, how the mighty have fallen in the midst of the battle. Jonathan lies slain on your high places. I am distressed for you, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant have you been to me. Your love to me was extraordinary, surpassing the love of women. How the mighty have fallen and the weapons of war perished. So I guess back in that day, it is very deep feelings.
Yeah.
So, are you comfortable talking about your deep feelings in that way? Why or why not?
For me personally, I think that if you're comfortable speaking like that to those group of friends, then they are those group of friends
Yeah.
that this particular passage is describing. When you're not able to open how you feel, especially for guys, I mean, like, let's be honest, we're not the most emotional, expressive type of people. Like, we bottle things in.
Yeah.
There was this video I was watching just recently, and then this guy was like asking his group of friends, like, "Oh, dude, if I open up to you guys, will you?" And then he said, "No, we're not." like they're just saying like the meanest things. But I mean, like, that they're just joking. They have a really genuine relationship with them. That's why they spoke that way. But it's sort of an epitome of like how guy relationships are. But in reality, I mean, like, the description that David and Jonathan showed their friendship is a very, very genuine God-centered relationship. They can just be open and really, they really express their love for each other. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd say honestly, if you're willing to be like that vocal about it, I feel that just shows your character. I feel it shows that you are someone who would yearn more intimate friendships. I feel. Yeah, when I first read this verse, I was like, okay, that's a bit questionable. But then I was getting, and then later on, I did get different vibe. I'm gonna quote another line, which also has a bad word, so I won't finish it. You know the saying, "Bros before."
Oh, okay.
Before women, right? Is that what you're trying
Something
to
like
say?
that. Yes.
And so I kind of get that vibe from this Bible verse.
Yep. It's also chicks before guys. Yeah.
You've never heard that, and I already know what the. Okay, moving on.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
Yep. So, lost my train of thought as well. Give me a second to regroup. I am also one who is not known to reveal her feelings that deeply and keep her emotions in a box. And sometimes it's easier that way.
Yeah.
So to kind of sweep everything under the carpet, don't let it out, be strong, tough person, because who wants to mess with a tough person, right? So that way people who want to come at me, use me, they can't get at me because they can't read me. That I think has
wow.
been sort of like my
Your motto?
my model.
Sounded like she was gonna like break into like a rap.
Yeah, exactly.
She
20
won't.
cent.
Yeah. Did you say 30 cents?
20 cent.
20 cents. Yes. At least we're cheap, but not that cheap. It's not 10 cents.
Just in case.
10 cents
For
to
legal
spare.
matters. No, we cannot mention. Okay, anyway.
Okay, and so I think for the longest time, it was hard to talk about my deep feelings because I didn't know how the other party would take it. I think most importantly is if I share my deep feelings, will they use that against me as ammunition?
For me, it's more of like if the person, if I speak like really open to the person and all you hear is like, that one, I like, dude, come on. I was so open to you, man.
Yeah, I mean so that's
Yeah.
ammunition for me as well. Basically, it's like they can either use it against me, laugh at me, all the above, like rejection, all. So it's just like I would rather not tell anyone my deep feelings. So, but I think we need to.
Yes.
So knowing that we have the covenantal friendship, we're able to share that and to grow together. So finally, like, what does the David and Jonathan friendship teach us about the role of faith and trust in deep, lasting relationships, and even how can we build that foundation in our own friendships?
I think any relationship that is bonded by God is a strong relationship. I think that pretty much says everything, because if you put God in the center of that relationship, whether it's marriage, whether it's friendship, there's a deeper communication, there's a deeper growth that's going to happen in your life, and then you guys build together. Your faith is becoming stronger, and your journey and walk in life as a Christian becomes slightly easier. I mean, like, I'm just saying this in the essence of, like, it's gonna be tough, definitely, but having someone who's right beside you and really being accountable for you, and you as well being accountable to that person, it just makes things a lot easier. So I think in one of the things that I've learned as well is to be reminded that this relationship is about being selfless and thinking about the other person as well. So yeah.
Summed it up.
Yes, thank you, Rico, for summing it all up so well. But yes, it's the mutual respect and also the faith that we have in God. And I think that is basically forms like a great foundation for every covenantal friendship.
Yes.
So, yeah, and I think sometimes in order to, like, in with these friendships, I think sometimes there is a huge role trust plays, because
Of course. Yeah.
you're trusting the other person to hold on to that. And I guess the end of the bargain is like being that good friend. I mean, Jonathan probably didn't think about his children when he died on the field and everything. But I mean, he probably thought about them, but didn't think about, like, oh, David taking care of them. But I guess David was like, this is my friend, and I've made a commitment to, care for his family, so I'm gonna hold on to that. So
Exactly. Yeah.
and so, I mean, Jonathan had to have the trust, right? That once David rises to the top, it's not going to let the ego get to your head.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I'm going to stick to my word. So, yeah, mutual respect, trust, and then faith in the Lord.
Amen.
All right. Well, that's that for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you at our next grind.
Bye.
Bye.